Welcome back. We've been thinking about how to represent spatial data, and one solution was to make this choropleth here, where we basically showed different countries. In this case, we could have used information about states or counties if we wanted, but we looked at countries, and then we tied a particular measurement, in this case a happiness scale, to a color scale here. And so what I want to do now is think about, how do we format this color scale here? Okay, how do we think about how we present this bar, and also maybe how we would choose particular colors. When we think about choosing a color scale, that will be in a separate video. Let's just think about this bar right now. Now, when we constructed this plot, what we did was we said color axis equals color axis. We were just giving it a name. And if we give it this particular name, then it's very easy for Plotly to access it. This is sort of the name that it expects. And so that color axis is basically this over here, this scale bar. And so if we want to change something about it, we can say fig.update color axes. And so if we had multiple color axes, then we would be updating them all at once, the same way that if we have like update x-axes or update y-axes, this would be happening. So we're updating color axes, and it's going to know that it should look for the phrase color axis. Okay, so what could we do? Well, what we are really thinking about updating is this particular, like everything associated with this, which is called the color bar. And so we can say color bar equals, and then it's a dictionary. And in this dictionary, we can supply different values. For instance, a title. We could call this the happiness score. And now we see that when we run this, the bar has a title, happiness score. And we've learned how to control the fonts, so we know that, we could do something like adding a line break so that this didn't span like so wide that it's like lined up on this bar like this. Okay, what else could we do? Well, we could decide that having the bar here on the right is not where we want it. We'd rather have it here on the bottom if we could. And so that for the color bar is sort of like when we had bars in a bar chart, that's orientation. In orientation, we'd rather have it be horizontal. And so now we've made a happiness bar that's horizontal. We can control its location by typing in coordinates. So how about 0.0 or 0.1 maybe? That'll put it near the bottom. Okay, so maybe I should have had 0.01. Like this. We could, but basically what's happening is that it put it at the very bottom of this plot, but the anchor point for this scale bar is also on the bottom. And so we can adjust the Y anchor just like we would with text and say, I would rather you anchor this from the top. And there we go. Now it's up there at the top. X equals 0.05, or how about 0.5? We'll put it in the middle. And if we wanted to really make sure that it's in the middle, we can also have X anchor equals middle. Middle would be for up and down. Center is what it wants for side to side. And there is a spelling error. Okay. What else could we do? Well, we could decide that happiness score being written on the left isn't exactly also what we want. It would be nice if it was underneath this. And so we can specify where we want the title to appear. So that's called title side equals bottom. And when we run that, now it's on the bottom. I probably don't need these line breaks anymore to make it look nice. Right. else might we like to have when we think about the control over this bar? Well, one thing is we have all these numbers that move across the happiness score, and oftentimes we might expect there to be little tick marks. This is called a color axes. So we might take a clue from the other axes we have and say, well, I could just say ticks. I want you to show them on the outside. And when I run this, now I have tick marks. And so we can control the tick marks, the minor tick marks, the appearance of labels, all of that exactly the same way that we have done this for other axes as well. In this particular case, I would probably choose not to have tick marks or numbers because like I don't know what happiness score is. The numbers are meaningless to me. They don't really have a value that I care about. And so probably a better solution would be to just remove them all and label like the two extremes so people can understand like this is the least happy and that's the most happy. And that would be a nice plot. So, but anyway, I think for right now, what we see is that we can control the appearance and location of this color bar, and we essentially do it within color axes, and we can just like treat this as if it was another axis almost. Again, you can look at the documentation for all the details, but this will get you a long way to understanding what you can and can't control when you're thinking about this color bar. Okay, so we'll see you in the next video.